For money, the Grand Prix World came happily to sunny Kyalami, high up in the South African Transvaal, only to face a protest against unacceptable regulations from the drivers, which involved all of them in missing the first day's practice. But now the first Grand Prix of 1982 is ready to go, with new drivers and new cars, 7 of which have an enormous advantage over the rest. For Kyalami's altitude is over 6,000 feet, and that means the turbocharged Renaults and Ferraris, the new Brabham BMWs and the Tolman have at least a 150 horsepower bonus over most of their rivals. And didn't it show up in practice? For the fastest 6 cars on the starting grid are turbocharged, with the 1980 South African Grand Prix winner, Frenchman René Arnoux, in pole position in his Renault, ahead of world champion Nelson Piquet in his new Brabham BMW. Third fastest, Gilles Villeneuve's new Ferrari, with Riccardo Patrese fourth, making his first race appearance as a Brabham driver. Fifth, it's Alain Prost Renault, with Didier Pironi's Ferrari sixth. And then the non-turbos, headed by Keke Rosberg's Williams seventh, and teammate Carlos Reutemann eighth. Derek Warwick's a superb 14th in the Tolman Turbo, with Nigel Mansell a lowly 18th in the JPS 87 and Derek Daly 24th in the Theodore. So it looks like a certain turbo car win here at Kyalami. But 77 laps of the 2.6-mile circuit in today's heat is a long, taxing way to go.
Well, with the rather unfortunate political dramas and aggravations now out of the way, thank goodness, or certainly out of the way for the moment, we finally got a race. But of course, this is going to demonstrate a total superiority of the turbos that we won't see later in the year when we go away from the altitude of Kyalami racetrack, where the turbos enjoy a big advantage because they can run their engines by pumping the thin air from 6,000 feet in at normal sea level pressure, therefore running at about 500 horsepower, whereas the normally aspirated cars huff and puff away to get only about 400 horsepower because they're 20% down, bearing in mind that there's 20% less air here for them to breathe. However, it looks, because of sea level testing in the winter, as if turbo is going to be the way to go this year. The turbos were quicker at sea level as well, around a fairly twisty track. And the big question is going to be their reliability. It's very hot here today. Turbos don't like it too hot, as do no racing cars, but they're particularly sensitive about it. So we just have to hope that we get a race of a reasonable pattern, some fun and games.
That is René Arnoux in pole position. The engine revs rising. There's an enormous amount of horsepower down on the grid. The weather conditions are perfect. The course is dry. The temperature is hot. Ideal racing conditions, although there are some dull clouds overhead. Nelson Piquet is alongside René Arnoux, then Villeneuve and Patrese. There you see the red light, and it is starting at the back, and it's go. Arnoux and Prost get away down to Crowthorne Corner, the right-hander. This is the longest straight in Grand Prix racing. From there, they go down into Barbecue Bend, up into 5th gear, into the Yuxke sweep, the left-hander, and you can see the lead now that the 2 cars in front have got.
Yes, well, the Renaults got their turn to turbocharge work. They've been able to start well last year, but the 2 Brabhams seem to have a terrible struggle getting off the line. However, I don't think that's going to be a big problem. They've got so much power here. Overtaking shouldn't be a problem, unless, of course, the Ferraris can match them on the straight line. But it was interesting to see that the Brabham turbo was obviously difficult to get going with the throttle lag that turbos have. And so now they've got a little bit of work to do. Piquet will have to make his way up.
And into the Armco, in fact, into the catch fencing on the very first lap. That's Jean-Pierre Jarier, who is the slowest man to qualify in the Osella. He is obviously perfectly all right. And meantime, bursting out of West Bank and in across the line go the leaders. And it is René Arnoux in the Renault, leading Alain Prost in second position. Well up are the 2 Ferraris of Gilles Villeneuve and Didier Pironi. And here is race leader René Arnoux.
René Lou taking it pretty steadily. Alan Frost following him. They're driving a fairly undramatic race up front. The Ferraris are there, but they're not an immediate threat. There seems to be some sort of a drama. We've got a lot of smoke. Somebody's obviously off the track. The driver out of the car. It looks like Nelson Piquet to me.
And we have no sign of Nigel Mansell. As we look across the circuit, we can see a stricken car, and it is certainly that of Nigel Mansell out of the race. Well, the Williams' cars are doing well in the form of Carlos Reutemann and Keke Rosberg, and somewhere out there watching them in Australia with all the other Channel 9 viewers is ex-world champion Alan Jones. And that is Villeneuve's car. Villeneuve with a great plume of smoke behind him. As I forecast, the turbos are not going to last this race. Villeneuve has very clearly blown the car, and we are looking now to see where ex-world champion Niki Lauda is, with Villeneuve certainly out and going into the pit.
Yes, Lauda's running in about 10th or 11th place on the track. Watson is... Well, that's a shame looking at Villeneuve. I hope he's not putting oil on the track. It's probably just a burning turbocharger. They tend to eat the turbines and then do a piston. But they often say he's putting oil down. Niki Lauda had a bit of trouble qualifying yesterday. He crashed very early on in the one and only qualifying session. He was just about to go out. He only crashed very lightly. He repaired the car and then it rained. So he didn't qualify as well as he would have hoped, because he's been in testing the quickest of the normally aspirated Cosworth engine runners, and in fact has driven by all agreement outstandingly well, coming straight back in where he left off, if anything driving better than when he retired. So he's working his way up the field. At the moment John Watson is leading him quite well and is running up at the front of the Ford engines group.
We are now on lap 8 in the 77 lap South African Grand Prix, as you look at race leader René Arnoux, and the order is René Arnoux leading with Alain Prost. There he is, right in his wheel tracks. In third position, the one of the two Ferraris left in the race, and it is that of Didier Pironi, with Villeneuve out. In fourth position, it is Riccardo Patrese, Piquet's teammate in the second of the two Brabham BMWs. In fifth position now, it's Carlos Reutemann, who had such a battle with Piquet for the World Championship last year. In sixth position, it is Keke Rosberg, and then number 7, John Watson, with behind him in 8th position, Jacques Lafitte in the Talbot. Then it is Michele Alboreto, and in 10th position, ex-double world champion Niki Lauda. Well, that is Sven Goldberg, the Swedish driver, in the second of the two Tyrrell cars, and we think we definitely have a new star in the Tyrrell team in the form of Michele Alboreto, who has driven magnificently in practice and was 10th fastest, not only in practicing, but in the practice warm-up period. It's Alain Prost, it is indeed Alain Prost in the lead, and we've missed, unfortunately, the passing manoeuvre. Well, I can't tell you where they passed, we didn't see it. All I can tell you is that you now look at race leader Prost and Arnoux.
Hang on, and that's Patrese, and he looks to be slowed down and in trouble. Yes, he's coming into the pits, but he's limping. He may not even quite make the pit. So Patrese in trouble, to be expected with the turbos and their first outing. They're very difficult engines technically to get right.
Last year at Kyle Army, the race was blighted by the fact that a lot of the top entrants were not there. Ferrari weren't here, Renault weren't here, Alfa Romeo weren't here, because of the political struggle between Pisa and Foka. But now they're back, and so are the spectators.
Yes, well, Niki Lauda I'm watching obviously with a lot of interest. Man, my vintage of racing, and he's going extremely well now. He's disposed of Lafitte and Alboreto. He's worked his way up through the field very well, and he's now got John Watson in his sights. He's about 4 or 5 seconds behind him, so we let John Watson as an established common denominator, as make any impression on him. I think he's closing a little bit, but it won't be a fast thing, and it'll be very interesting to see whether they go to battle if they ever get into a line of serve situation.
Didier Peroni, there he is in third position on his 23rd lap now, with the two Renaults in front of him, and the question is, what is the gap between third place man Didier Peroni in the Ferrari that we're looking at now, and Carlos Reutemann, who is in fourth position? If the Ford Cosworth engine cars can score points here at Kyalami, they will be on much more of an even-Steven basis after this race. Peroni then, and as we look at the